Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Cheltenham Borough Council Planning Committee, being held on Thursday, 27th of February 2025. My name is Councillor Garth Barnes. I'm the chair of the committee. This meeting is being streamed to Cheltenham Council's Borough YouTube channel, and the recording of the meeting will be held for 4 years. If there are any breaks in the transmission due to the YouTube stream failing, the meeting will be adjourned for a short period until any issues are resolved. If you are here to make a representation to the meeting, you are consenting to the use of the sound and video recordings for broadcast and training purposes. Please be aware that CCTV and audio recording is now in operation in the public gallery. The recordings will be held by the council for 5 months. Please note, an alarm is not expected, no test, so if the alarm does sound, you should immediately make your way to the nearest exit. Thank you. Agenda item 1, apologies. We've had apologies from Councillor Allen, Baker, Clark and Wheeler, and we have Councillors Chellin and Garcia Clamp acting as substitutes for this meeting. Item 2, any declarations of interest for any members? No. Sorry, Councillor Chellin.
Yeah, just to say that I couldn't attend the planning view, but that I have visited one of the neighbours of 103 Sherdington Road to see the context of the building in question.
That was my next item on the agenda, to ask if anybody had done any independent site visits. So you've preempted that. Thank you very much indeed. Any other member attended sites that they want to tell us about? No?
Sorry, Chair.
Sorry.
So should we just mention that we all went on planning view to the main sites, Cotswold Grange and 103 Sherdington Road, that we visited it as a committee?
There was an attendance by a number of councillors at the sites that we're discussing tonight, but I'm asking for anybody who's attended separately. Councillor Chellin has said she has. Right, the minutes of the last meeting. You all had them. Do you agree they're a true record and I can sign them as such? No problems. Thank you. There are no public questions, so that's item 5. So we move on to the agenda item 6, which is the planning applications before us. And the first one we have is 6A, Cotswold Grange Hotel, and I'll ask the case officer if he would introduce it for us, please, Ben. Thank you.
Can you try and plug in and re-plug it in?
Please bear with us while we get the technology right.
Thank you, Chair. So the application relates to the Cotswold Grange Hotel. The proposed works are for the remodelling and extension of the hotel to create additional bedrooms, a function room and a small terrace. The application is at Planning Committee at the request of Councillor Hay on behalf of the applicant and neighbours. The application site is a locally listed building located in the conservation area and on the corner of Pittville Circus Road and Moor Court Drive. So Moor Court Drive serves a number of residential properties that are located and accessed from the rear of the site. Got two images on the screen there. It's got some site photos to show you the existing building as it is now. So, as I said, it's locally listed. There's a lower ground floor extension to the side there that you can see in those photos. Another photo from the rear. We've got an existing and proposed site plan here. So there's two main additions, one being the two-storey extension to the rear of the property to create additional bedrooms, and then what is described by the applicant as a pavilion extension to the side of the property with a terrace in front of it. So a lower ground floor plan and an upper ground floor plan. So the extension to the side, the pavilion extension would create a function room and sits on top of the existing single-storey flat roof addition that's already there. Have an existing and proposed front elevation. Side elevation. And then the rear elevation. So as discussed in the officer report, the application site has been the subject of a number of pre-applications. The first scheme submitted to the council for comment in 2022. The CGI images here show the evolution of the scheme from what was first shown to the council to what is now being considered as part of the application here today. So that shows how we've progressed to where we are now. So the two images here, so both front elevation CGI images. So the image on the left is the scheme that was proposed as part of this formal application. So this was the first scheme, which proposed a contemporary flat roof metal clad addition that wrapped around the side and to the rear. The image on the right is again where we've evolved to now and what is the current application. And this is the scheme from the rear, so effectively two separate additions rather than it being one wraparound addition as previously proposed. So here you've just got an existing and proposed street scene just a bit further out. So the key planning matters here are design, impact on heritage assets, impact on amenity, impact on trees, highway safety, ecology and biodiversity net gain. Members should also be aware of an officer update that has been circulated which discusses the impact on the Beechwood Special Area of Conservation. So because of the officer update in relation to the Beechwood Special Area of Conservation, officer recommendation has been updated to permit subject to a section 106 to allow officers to deal with the legal instructions. So the recommendation remains to permit and subject to conditions. The conditions relate to standard time implementation, approved plans, submission of additional details, including landscape details, ecology mitigation and enhancement strategy, submission of precautionary method of working statement relating to ecology works, restricted hours of use for the terrace and for music, no external lighting for the terrace, restricting the use of other areas of the flat roof, so to the rear, submission of details for the air source heat pump, new air handling equipment details, further design details and materials. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Ben, for that. We do have two speakers, an objector and the applicant, and both speakers will have 5 minutes in which to put their case. And I will advise them 30 seconds before the end of the 5 minutes that they're coming to the end of their time. And I am very strict upon the timekeeping, so you will hopefully not exceed that. So first of all, I'd like to ask Lauren Kemple as the objector to address the committee. As I say, you have 5 minutes.
I'm representing all of the households on Moorcourt Drive, as well as the residents in the neighbouring flats. Residents hadn't realised they needed to formally object again to the revised plans, but to be clear, all households are opposing the application and all have contributed to what I'm going to say. So the starting point is that the development should be of an overall benefit to the area. So the question you need to ask yourselves is whether the potential public benefits outweigh the many detriments which have been recognised by officers. It's a balancing act. We say the detriments have been underplayed and that the stated benefits are exaggerated and do not compensate for the negative impact. Moorcourt Drive is a quiet, leafy, airy, attractive residential cul-de-sac. It's really quiet. There are no shops, cafes or other hotels nearby. There's no hubbub or busyness or noise in this area, especially after 6 o'clock or at weekends. It is a peaceful place to be. It is not unusual for visitors, even long-time residents of Cheltenham, to come down our road and say, I never knew this was here. It's like a little haven. Our road is a special place to live. To put that into planning terms, the starting value amenity of our area is really high. And the hotel sits at the opening of our street and it barely intrudes into the lives of residents at all. All its activities are contained within the building or existing courtyard garden. And the proposed development would change all of that forever. The first thing you'd see when you enter the street will be guests in the glass pavilion or out on the first floor terrace. We would have to walk past them at an elevated height above us to get to our houses. And this will feel overbearing, especially for our elderly residents and our children. It'll be worse in the summer, when there'll be lots of windows and doors open on the pavilion. It'll be in the full sun because it's made of glass, and lots of people out on the terrace. And there is no sound barrier. All sound generated at that height, with nothing to dampen it, will echo and cause significant disturbance to residents. And there's no visual barrier. And with the design and materials being made of glass, the indoor light will be a significant new feature. Now, it's changing the hotel's activities from being hidden within its walls to being elevated up, overlooking the street, in a glass box or literally outside. It's changing the nature of the street from being residential to feeling more commercial. And this will have an unacceptable impact. And these problems cannot be mitigated by adding conditions. And as I move to talk about the proposed extension block at the back, it's worth remembering that the whole of the building is in the conservation area, not just the front. And part of what characterises the conservation area is light, airy space around buildings. And as you know, it's contrary to policy to have unacceptable erosion of that space. And in terms of proposed extensions form, it's the equivalent of adding another 2-storey house to Moorcourt Drive, and that house being added well beyond the existing build line for the road and totally infilling to the edge of the property. It's obtrusive, solid and overbearing with a scale and density not appropriate to the setting. It would remove the airy feel of the street by filling in this space in a rather utilitarian way. And the Conservation Officer acknowledges in their report that it's large in relation to the current footprint. And the officer also notes that in this part of the conservation area, developments are usually set away from the existing boundaries. And we agree that should be the case here, not least because it runs the risk of setting a precedent. It is the rear of the hotel, but it's not akin to a situation where the rears of the big, large villas all back onto a small service road. The rear of the hotel backs onto our purely residential street and our homes. So isn't that even more reason to stick to the conservation policy? And also there's very real concern about being overlooked, as the new proposed upper bedroom windows would look directly into the houses opposite. So, are all these significant detriments balanced out by significant public benefits? Our opinion is that they are not. The suggested benefits are economic and they're not backed up by any data or any research, and they do appear to be exaggerated. It seems questionable that an increase in 4 bedrooms would lead to an increase in 4 permanent full-time staff. And of course, that's not a planning condition. Even if it were realistic, there's nothing to compel the hotel to actually recruit. And as for further public economic benefit, again, we believe the impact has been overstated. For there to be a public economic benefit, the additional bedrooms need to bring people in to Cheltenham who would otherwise not have stayed here. And for this to be the case, the town would have to be at capacity in terms of similar hotel rooms. And this is only likely to occur at busy festival periods. And Cheltenham's economic strategy, it states that outside the two main race meets, there is spare hotel capacity. And this is confirmed by the tourism officer. So for 96% of the year, there is no extra revenue for the town from these additional bedrooms. And we don't feel that this additional revenue, which at its height is very modest, is worth a significant this significant negative impact. And we really feel that these plans will unnecessarily change our lovely street for the worse forever with minimal actual wider public benefit. Thank you.
Thank you. Made it. And now, could I ask Nirav Sheth, as the applicant, to address the committee? 5 minutes also.
Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Nirav Sheth, and I have had the privilege of owning and running Cotswold Grange for the past 18 years. Cotswold Grange is a well-established, family-run boutique hotel with 20 bedrooms, a bar and a function room. It occupies a beautiful stone-fronted period building dating back to the 1850s and has long been a unique part of Cheltenham's hospitality offering. As one of the last few independently run boutique hotels in the area, it brings something truly special to the town. From the moment I took ownership, my commitment has been to carefully restore and protect this historic building while ensuring it continues to meet the needs of modern guests. In 2015, we undertook a substantial refurbishment, ensuring that all its wonderful period features were preserved. Today, Cotswold Grange continues to attract visitors from around the world who appreciate staying in a hotel with a story, a soul, and a true sense of place. But places like Cotswold Grange don't survive by accident. They survive because of care, dedication, and the ability to evolve thoughtfully in a way that respects the building's character, enhances our guest experience, and integrates the local community. Our carefully considered proposal includes a larger, more flexible function space, which will enhance what we already offer, providing a much-needed venue for local events, small celebrations, and cultural gatherings. It's a modest increase of just 6 guest bedrooms, allows us to meet demand while maintaining the intimate, personal experience our guests love. And crucially, this development improves accessibility with a new lift at the main entrance and a fully accessible bedroom, ensuring that everyone, regardless of mobility, can experience the warmth of Cotswold Grange. This is the natural evolution of the hotel, allowing us to better serve our guests and the local community. Our function space is already a cherished venue for daytime gatherings, and this development will allow us to host a broader range of events, always in full compliance with the time limits outlined in the officer report. Beyond the hotel itself, this development brings clear economic benefits. With 26 bedrooms, we anticipate over 13,000 overnight stays annually, contributing significantly to local businesses. Visitors staying with us will be projected to spend between 1.5 to 2 million per year, directly benefiting Cheltenham's shops, restaurants and attractions. We will create new jobs, increasing our full-time team from 9 to 13. The construction phase alone represents a substantial investment in the local economy. I want to emphasise that this proposal has been developed in consultation with the planning officers, the design review panel and with our neighbours. We have listened, adapted and incorporated every key request made. Importantly, the new development is set more than 21 metres from the nearest neighbouring property, and window placements have been carefully designed to avoid overlooking concerns. This is about more than bricks and mortar. It's about keeping independent, characterful places alive in a world where they are disappearing. It's about securing the future of a historic property, ensuring that it continues to welcome guests, support local jobs and contribute to Cheltenham's wider visitor economy. Without the ability to adapt, businesses like ours struggle. And when they struggle, we don't just lose jobs or revenue, we lose a piece of what makes Cheltenham special. I urge you to support this vision for the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, well within your time. Thank you. Okay, I'll now open it to members' questions. Any member wishes to ask the officer a question? No? In that case, we'll move on to the debate. Any member wishes to debate? Councillor Oliver?
Thanks, Chair. It's always nice to see where applicants have worked with the planning officers to come up with a better scheme to try and serve the area better. I've looked at the plans and I actually think that they're a lot better than they were. And I think that, although I don't like, naturally, a modern addition to, in terms of the terrace, in this instance, I think it's a really good design. I've got no objections to this proposal. My only concerns are that when it comes to building it, whether they're going to be able to do so without damaging the laurel hedge at the back, which does provide an element of, or a big element of privacy for the residents.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Any other member? Councillor Bamford?
I think Councillor Oliver makes a crucial point there. For me, the rear extension is perfectly acceptable on the basis that that hedge is retained in roughly its existing form. And it is a concern that during the construction process that may be damaged. I'm just wondering what provisions we can make in terms of conditions that we can place upon the application, or in terms of the landscaping scheme. I share Councillor Oliver's concern about the function room, but I also understand that it's gone through many iterations, and maybe this is the best solution the best compromise, I suppose, is what I mean. Thank you.
Thank you. As members will have heard at the planning view, that the hedge can't be protected, but we would urge the applicant to maintain that hedge because it does provide a buffer between the hotel and the local people. So I'm sure they will take that on board, hopefully. But the decision taken has been taken on the basis that that hedge wouldn't be there anyway. So, but I'll ask Ben to come back and talk about that.
Thank you, Chair. So, yeah, just to add to that, so whilst we can't protect the hedge because it's not a tree, so, you know, in no way, that could be removed tomorrow. It has no level of protection as is. However, one of the conditions here requires the details of a landscaping plan, and that specifically says that it should set out all landscaping, etc., that should be retained, as well as additional planting. That would then, the requirement of that condition, once submitted and discharged, would mean that they would have to comply with that. And that condition then later goes on to talk about if any trees or plants should die within a certain period, they have to be replaced. So whilst we cannot protect it, and whilst it could technically be removed, the landscaping plan here would at least allow us to exercise some control of that. So if that plan came in without that hedge, we could ultimately have a conversation with the applicant and seek to retain it. So I just wanted to make clear that we can't protect it, but there is some level of protection there through the landscaping submission. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member wishes to comment? Councillor Andrews?
Yes, I rather concur with Councillor Oliver and Councillor Bateman here in terms of the rear extension. I see no problems with that whatsoever. Obviously, the terrace is rather conspicuous on the western view there. But as we've learned very recently, owners maintaining these listed buildings do need commercial help and I think the function room, which is where I think the extra staff may be coming from, extra functions going on, do help the owners of these buildings actually maintain the listed buildings. I'm veering towards agreeing with the planning officers on this. I think I'd probably be voting in favour of it.
Thank you. I don't see any other members asking to speak on it, so I don't think the officer has anything to update on that point. So we can go to the vote, I think, on this one. The recommendation is to permit, subject to a 106 agreement, so bear that in mind. That is a slight change to the recommendation. And the voting screen is before you, so all those for or against, please show. So I think we're missing, we've got 8 votes, all for, so that's unanimously approved. Thank you very much indeed. None against and no abstentions. So now we are going to move on to item 6B, which is 103 Sherdington Road. And I'll ask our officer to introduce the case to us. Thank you, Claire, when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. This application is for an extension to an existing garden outbuilding and conversion to an annex, which will provide ancillary accommodation to the main dwelling, 103 Sherdington Road. The application is at Planning Committee at the request of Councillor Chellam, and as per the officer's report, the recommendation is to permit. Here we've got the site location plan on the left. On the right is the flood zone map. Members will have noted on view that there's a watercourse running along the western boundary of the site, and I've just outlined the approximate site boundary in red. As you'll have noted in the report update circulated earlier today, the Environment Agency updated their flood risk mapping on Tuesday this week. The zone which the outbuilding is situated in remains in flood zone 3. Flood zone 2 has been extended, and the main dwelling on the site now falls within flood zone 2. So here we've got the block plan with the proposed extension shown in pink and an aerial image of the site. These are the existing elevations and floor plans showing the existing outbuilding. This building was built under permitted development rights. And these are the proposed elevations and floor plan. The form and design of the building is to be a continuation of the existing. And just got a few site photos. They've got the front of the application property with the existing outbuilding on the right. Members will have seen on site that the land level drops to the rear of the site. So the outbuilding is sited at a lower level than the main dwelling. And then just a couple more photos of the outbuilding. And the extension is to the right of that of the building in the photo. The key considerations for this application are design, impact on neighbouring amenity, use of the building as an annex, sustainable development and flood risk. The design of the building is considered appropriate in scale, form and design and sits comfortably within the plot. With regards to amenity, given the location and scale of the extension, there are no concerns relating to a loss of amenity in terms of loss of light or loss of privacy. The use of the building as an annex ancillary to the main dwelling is appropriate. With regard to noise, the use would be residential, incidental to the use of the main dwelling. The building would be well insulated and draft proof. Given the scale and nature of the development, the proposed sustainability measures are appropriate. As mentioned, the proposed outbuilding falls within flood zone 3B, which is designated as functional floodplain. Consultee comments have been considered, however, officers are mindful of the permitted development fallback position and therefore the extension, if reduced in height, could be built without the need for planning permission. As such, consideration has been given to the use of the building, given it is ancillary to the main dwelling. The main dwelling will always be available for the occupants who are staying in the annex. As such, for the reasons in the officer report, the proposed development is considered to be acceptable and the recommendation is to permit, subject to the following conditions, which is the standard time, approved plans and restriction on the use of the annex to be used as ancillary to the main dwelling. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that update. We have one speaker who has circulated his speech. So I will ask Mr. Smith, Mark Smith, the objector, to come and speak. You have 5 minutes, and as you've heard, I will remind you 30 seconds before the end, before I ask you to stop.
Application form incorrect. Planning state must be accurate and complete. Block plan, no trees shown, resubmitted, trees in wrong position. Other trees on boundaries not marked. Building control not consulted. Trees determine depth of foundations. Applicant concealing this information. Planning officer finds this acceptable. She states the most crucial part of this form is the ownership certificate, the land within the red line. This is not the question on the application form. Existing garden house, breach of planning, built under permitted development for garden outbuildings, should be a full planning, must be submitted accurate and complete. Applicant statement, a stream, volume of water minimal, no history of flooding in 10 years. Stream is Hatherley Brook, designated a main river by the EA. Minimal flow. I offered video footage of the brook, full. No response from the council. No flooding in 10 years. Read objection 11 Marestones Close. Applicant concealing the truth. Answered none. Phase 1, house built on flood zone 3. Displacing water, raising the brook water levels. South Acres Lodge floods. Danger now increased. Should include flood protective material. Building control not consulted and will be interested in materials used phase 1. All trees should be clearly marked on drawings, even the trees removed, and not marked on block plan. Building control not consulted. Self-contained unit for family member. All drawings dated May 21. The applicant knew in May 21 he needed a space for family member. He could have applied with the rear extension to do a loft conversion, as did 101 Shirtington Road. He built on flood zone 3 land, increasing flood risk. Planning officer, the applicant does not have to consult or apply for planning under permitted development. Incorrect. The EA state you must consult with your planning department and gain permissions and licences. The EA also state you cannot build within 8 metres of a flood defence. Phase 1 is within 3 metres. Mr. Gom, enforcement officer, will have to have the house removed. Planning officer admitted she overlooked consultation with the EA. Design and fabric. The tin roof does not reflect the character of the surrounding area. 103 Shirtington Road has 10 by 6.5 clay tiles. All other properties have concrete interlocking. Appearance of a factory roof. Noise, heavy rain and hail. Bedrooms close by. Flood risk assessment. Incorrect. 3 counties flood risk assessment. Sees chairman's copy. Site plan does not show 103 rear extension correctly, nor the large raised patio area. I do hope Mr. Gom has completed his enforcement investigation, reported extra roof lantern, also extension size. This would increase the displacement of water on flood zone 3. Also add the new house and annex extension not shown with large raised patio areas, adding to the displacement of water. The EA did not respond to consultation, would need to inform planning damage to properties has occurred. Jay Chelling, councillor, will confirm the footpath on Marestone's estate has washed away. South Acre Lodge floods and a retaining wall washed away. EA state you must get permissions to build anything in or around the watercourse, not build anything which could divert water and increase flood risk to other people's property, or you may have to pay damages. You must ask permission before you do any work within 8 metres of a flood defence. You must find out which permissions and licences you need to maintain, repair, build or remove anything in or around the watercourse. This includes your responsibility for getting the permissions and licences you need. You may get a fine or go to prison if you do not do this. Planning permission. Contact your local planning authority to check whether you need planning permission. Drawing incorrect. Copy supplied to all committee members. Elevations drawn higher against neighbouring land. This reported to planning officer September 24. She found this acceptable. Drainage not identified. 4 manholes on foul drainage will be required on flood zone 3. Water could flood the system, polluting the brook. Sewer vent pipe, stink pipe, not identified. The drawing should show the property approximately 1 metre lower. The stink pipe would vent at the top of the fence level, affecting the amenities of the surrounding properties. Foul air will invade gardens, kitchens and bedrooms, affecting health and welfare. Planning office finds this acceptable. This development could be used for rental, bringing extra vehicles to the property. Safety, you need to turn and drive out. Cycle path, the new garden wall granted permission should have the condition of a 2x2 45-degree sightline. No vision to the right on exit. Cycle path width 2.4, sightline of an average size car 2.3. The driver has no vision on the right. Cycle path.
Smith, you have 30 seconds.
The cycle path was constructed on the new high school. I see children racing their bikes along the cycle path. They would swerve to avoid any contact with existing car before the safety, health and welfare of the general public. Council. I invite the Lord Mayor to ride this cycle right. Please do not inform me there are hundreds of driveways in Cheltenham without 45-degree sightlines. So these are existing. This wall was a new construction. 100% should have had that necessary 45-degree condition. The highways officer who stated no accidents have happened in 1.5 years, therefore.
Smith, I'm afraid you have reached your 5 minutes, and so I would ask you to bring it to a close.
Right.
Thank you.
Can I just ask you, Chairman, would you have documented in the minutes item 13, 14, 15, 16 and 17 were not read? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Sorry, Councillor Bamford, I saw first.
The obvious question really is just to seek clarification about what the environment, what the EA, how they responded to this application. I appreciate that a lot of that is already contained in the papers, but given the weight placed by the objector on this, I thought it might be helpful just to run through what it exactly is that they said about this application. Thank you.
Yeah, so we consulted the Environment Agency, but they responded with a response that said that the site doesn't hit their consultation filter checklist. So they didn't provide us with a detailed response to the consultation. But the council's drainage and flooding officer did provide comments. They're in full in the officer's report, but they did raise some points that have sort of to say that the development is within a functional floodplain, and that they haven't put the floor levels above 600 millimetres above the estimated flood level, but have acknowledged that the building is ancillary. So for any evacuation purposes, the occupants who were in the annex at the time would be able to evacuate to the main building because it will be ancillary. So in the officer's report, we've acknowledged that the concern raised with flooding, but are mindful of the fallback position of permitted development, for which if the building was lower in height, so if the roof was amended to a flat roof, it would fall within the limits of permitted development. And within the permitted development process, there's no requirement for officers to give regard to to flooding. So that's it in a nutshell, but the full comments are in the officer report.
Can I come back on that one? I presume that if the Environment Agency felt that this additional development presented a worsening of the flood risk to the surrounding buildings, they would have made an adverse comment. Is that a reasonable presumption?
I would assume so, but their response is just that it doesn't hit their consultation checklist filter.
Councillor Oliver.
Thanks, Chair. The objector has made a number of detailed criticisms, which seems to suggest that there is inaccuracies in the application. Can the officers confirm whether any of these inaccuracies should invalidate the application, or would that be unreasonable?
Is that with regard to sort of the trees? Could you be just specific?
Sorry, I mean, there's quite a lot to read here, but there seems to be suggestions that the applicant is concealing the truth, for example, in regard to the volume of water in the stream. It's a bit difficult reading this, whether we're talking about the application in question, or whether it's what's already been built. Do the officers consider there is anything valid that could render this application invalid?
So yeah, just so in terms of what they submitted, it meets our validation requirements. I know the trees were brought up from the top of my head, and so the trees aren't protected. So if there's been trees removed, then that wouldn't. They don't need consent for that. And yeah, officers have considered the application as per submitted. So we consider that the application is accurate enough to consider and determine.
Councillor Chellan.
Considering the number of queries about the accuracy of the application and the plans, did any of the planning officers go and actually visit? And are you bound to verify that at all?
Yeah, I've visited the site. In terms of sort of boundary heights and whether the floor levels and ground levels between different sites are, and so obviously I've noted that they've shown the boundary height as probably just an indication of a boundary rather than an accurate representation. But when officers have considered it, I've been on site and there's not, in terms of loss of amenity, for example, there was no concerns raised with that. For this type of application, we wouldn't need sort of a survey of the land levels to be submitted. So yeah, I've been on site and yeah, assessed as such.
Any other questions to the officers? If not, we'll move into the debate. Anyone for the debate? Councillor Oliver.
Thanks, Chair. Sorry, Chair, you've got your microphone on. Yeah. I honestly couldn't see any real objections to this proposal. It's only extending what is already there. The only possible concerns I could see in terms of loss of amenity were the property not screened already, and were we to be increasing the flood risk by filling in a space with a building. But what's already there in the gap between the end of the current building and the fence is all hard standing. So I can't see any objection on increased flood risk myself. So I'm happy to support this.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Any other member? No? I don't see any hands going up, so we'll go to the vote on this. So the officer's recommendation is to permit, and the voting screen will come up for you. Please vote either for, against, or abstain. So that is 5 for the application, none against, and 3 abstentions. So that is approved and is permitted. Thank you very much indeed. Sorry, we can now move on to the other applications. Which is 6C, London Road. You ready? So I'll ask the Conservation Officer if she would introduce it for us, please.
Thank you, Chair. The application is for replacement of flat entrance doors with fire-rated doors at number 38, 40, 42 and 46 London Road. The application is before Planning Committee as Cheltenham Borough Council is the applicant. The officer recommendation is to approve. The application site is part of a terrace of 6 houses and is Grade 2 star listed and lies within the Sydenham character area of the Central Conservation Area. These are the existing flat entrance door at number 38 London Road, which are non-fire rated, and they appear to be historic and contribute to the architectural interest of the building. The glazed panel doors at flat 2 are also to be replaced. And these are the entrance door at at number 42. Similarly, they hold some historic and architectural value. Entrance door at number 40, at flat 1 and flat 2, these are modern, and but the entrance door to flat number 3 is again more detailed. Number 46 London Road, the existing door to flat 1 is modern and detracts from the character and appearance of the listed building. And the entrance door to flat 3 and flat 2 are more of more value. These are the proposed designs for the door. The key consideration for the applications is the impact of on the Grade 2 star listed buildings. Most of the existing doors contribute to the special historic or architectural interest of the building, while the replacement with a fire-rated door is justified. The submitted details are poor and does not show the significance and does not show that the significance of the heritage assets are sustained. With regards to policy 88 and of the joint core strategy and section 16 of the NPPF, it is recommended to approve the applications and secure the design details through a condition.
Thank you very much. Thank you. This is before us because it's our properties, so that's why we're discussing it. So we have no public speakers. Do we have any questions of the officer from members? No. Any member debate? Anyone wants to comment on it? No. So you've nothing to sum up, so we'll go straight into the vote, and it is for permit, isn't it? Permit and grant. So all those in favour, please show. So that's, everybody has voted, and it's 8 members for, none against, and no abstentions. So that has been approved. Thank you very much. So we move on to 6D, Montpellier Spa Road. And I'll ask the Conservation Officer to introduce it again, please.
Thank you, Chair. Again, this application is for replacement of flat entrance doors at numbers 2 and 4 Montpellier Spa Road with fire-rated doors. The application is before Planning Committee, as Cheltenham Borough Council is the applicant, and the officer's recommendation is to approve. This is the application site, which is part of a terrace of 4 houses. It's Grade 2 listed and lies within the Montpellier character area of the Central Conservation Area. These are the existing door and the glazed structure to flat 3 at number 4 Montpellier Spa Road is also to be replaced with a fire-rated stud wall. These are the proposed design for the doors, which are going to be half-hour fire-rated. The key consideration for the application is the impact on the listed building. The existing doors lack any special historic or architectural interest, and the proposed design of the new fire doors is consistent with the character of the listed building. And it is therefore recommended to grant planning and listed building consent.
Thank you very much indeed. No speakers on this item either. So any member questions to the officers? No?
Yes.
Oh, well, sorry. Took me by
Look,
surprise.
I'm sorry, I've got to ask this time.
Of course.
These were originally CBH properties, were they, rather than Cheltenham Borough Homes? It's just I had no idea we actually owned anything like this.
Yes, these are CBH properties, but CBH is now part of Cheltenham Borough Council.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? So we'll go on to member debate then. Any debate on the question?
I like the fire doors.
Thank you, Councillor Oliver. Okay, so nothing to sum up on anything. So we'll go to the voting system again. All those in favour, please show either for, against, or abstentions. So again, we have 8 members for, none against, and no abstentions. So that has been approved for recommendation to permit and grant. Thank you very much indeed. Please note item 7, the appeals update. There are no items of require urgent decision, so the next meeting will be on the 17th of April. And